What is up, nerds? It is Reptile DIY here again, and today I'm going to be showing you all how to paint logos on the bill of your flip-up hat. So let's get this shit started. Alright guys, so we all know these hats were made famous by suicidal tendencies, who in turn borrowed heavily from Southern California's cholo culture. And punks and thrashers have been wearing them ever since. But here I'm going to show you how to make your very own with a nice clean-cut logo. So let's talk about supplies. Alright, here's the supplies. Oh shit, those are the wrong supplies. Supplies are pretty straightforward. I'm going to be using this classic mesh trucker style hat. I got this at a thrift store for about $1.50. You can use any hat you want, but I like these old classic trucker hats. You're also going to need some freezer paper, or any paper really works, as well as some double-sided tape, an X-Acto blade, a pencil, some regular tape, as well as paint pens, or fabric paint. Personally, I'm going to be using paint pens today, but I'm going to be using white and black. You can use any color you want, but I like to use black to clean up any of my mistakes. The black also allows you to add detail when we're all done. You're also going to need a scrap piece of cardboard and a computer, a tablet, anything with a screen, or maybe even a printer. Now guys, I have 2 other videos where I show you how to make freezer paper stencils. They will be down in the description below, but I go into a lot more detail with these freezer paper stencils. Maybe you have a printer, maybe you don't have a printer, maybe you have a computer, maybe you don't have a computer. I show you how to make stencils out of anything and everything and just how to make it work, okay? So check out those videos down below. And guys, you can use any logo you want. Maybe you can find some on a Google image search, any image search. I'm also going to do a shout out to stencilpunks.org. I believe it is a Tumblr blog at this point. But also check out Anarchostencilism for punk, metal, goth, political, all sorts of stencils. So definitely check out those 2 resources if you're really looking for those type of stencils. So here we are. I have my hat. Here is our bill. We're going to take our bill, put it directly over our freezer paper. We're going to want to be drawn on the dull side and not the shiny side, okay? Then I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to just trace out the shape of the bill. Nice and easy. There we go. We have our bill traced out. Now we're going to take it to our computer. We're going to find an image online. I found this Gallo logo from one of his promotional photos. I thought it was pretty cool. So we're going to put it on our computer. We're going to put our piece of paper directly onto the computer screen. We're going to tape it on. We're just going to trace it out, okay? So now that you have your logo traced out, we're going to flip it to the back of the paper, shiny side, and we're going to take our double-sided tape and just layer it in rows, okay? If you can find a giant piece of double-sided tape, definitely do that. It'll make this process a whole hell of a lot easier. But all I had was little tiny strips of double-sided tape. So now we're going to go in and we're going to cut out our logo. Be very gentle and take your time with this, okay? It is a pain in the ass. So now that we got our logo cut out, now we're going to remove our double-sided tape. And actually, if you're doing it like I'm doing it with a bunch of strips of double-sided tape, remove the inside of the double-sided tape first, like where all the letters are at. And just take your time. And it's a pain in the ass. I actually used an X-Acto blade and like a pointy little screwdriver and a pair of tweezers just to remove those tiny little pieces of tape. Took me a while, but it was definitely worth the results. Here we are. You can see nice and slow, just pulling off those insides first. I'd like to do the insides first because that's where all the detail's at. And that's where you're going to really want everything to stick, okay? And once I was done with the insides, then I went and pulled off the rest of the tape on the back. So now we got all of our tape off. I left 2 little tags on the bottom and the top. Now it's time to apply it to the bottom of our bill. So here we go. We have it applied to the bottom of the bill. It's nice and stuck on there. And honestly, with some of those inserts, I kind of left the little bits of tape left on it so I can get the outside on first, and then I went back and put on the insides, okay? You can see with that G, with the W, with the O, I went back and did that, and there we go. We have our stencil nice and applied, okay? And just really work that on there, all right? Next up, we're going to use our paint pen. Now guys, you don't have to use a paint pen. You can use some fabric paint and a sponge brush and lightly dab it on. But I used a paint pen. There's my first layer right there. And you just do a couple of layers, and you don't want to slather this shit on, okay? If it's slathered on, it's going to bleed underneath your stencil. So don't slather it on. Use that first layer, let it dry for about an hour or so, go back and do a second layer. Then let it dry for another hour, go back and do a third layer. Okay, go back and do 3 or 4 layers. Now guys, like I said, I was using a paint pen, so I probably had to do like 5 or 6 layers. With fabric paint, it's probably 3 or 4, if that. But here we are, everything's dried. I did all my layers, it's ready to go. All that is left is to pull our stencil off. Here we are, pulling it off. And just take your time pulling it off. And here's our logo. It looks okay, but we're gonna clean it up. We're gonna go back with our black paint pen, and we're just gonna clean up those edges. Anywhere where there's bleeding, we're gonna clean it up. We're gonna sharpen any of the letters, and we are gonna make it look a whole hell of a lot nicer. So just touch it up with your black paint pen, and boom, there we go. It looks a lot nicer. And honestly, guys, you could even add details or add all sorts of other things, you know, at this point. But here we go. This is pretty much it. Here is our finished hat. It looks pretty cool. It definitely beats hand-drawing it on. But I know if you're old school, you guys like to hand-draw on your logos on your flip-up hat. I just wanted to show you how to make a nice, crisp logo on the bottom of your flip-up hat that Suicidal would be proud of. With these flip-up hats, you don't really have to clear coat them or anything. The paint's going to stick into that fabric. And hopefully you guys learned something. These hats are super easy to make. You can hand draw them. You could use stencils like I just did, but hopefully you learned something. And if you liked this, check out my other DIY tutorials. I've been doing this shit for about 17 years, so if you want to learn a thing or two, then definitely hit that button down below. Until next time, see you later, nerds.